Now, the shakeup will have a significant impact on White House foreign policy. Earlier, I spoke to Atiba Madyun, a political consultant here in Washington. I began by asking him for his views on the appointments.
I think it was a pretty good political choice. Susan Rice has a great deal of experience already working now in 2 administrations. She's worked at the National Security Council before under President Clinton. So she brings a great deal of experience both as UN ambassador as well as working for the president. I think that there are a lot of people who have not questioned, but actually impressed with the way that she handled herself and the things that she did while she was UN ambassador. And I think those are things that will come and be very helpful to the president as some of the major decisions that he has to make over the next 3 years as it relates to public policy.
Right, if we look at the 2 people who've been chosen, National Security Advisor Susan Rice, and then we have Samantha Power as ambassador to the United Nations. What are the main challenges that they will be facing?
Well, there's a lot that's going on. You've got conflict in Syria, you've got North Korea, you've got Egypt. It's plenty to do. There's plenty of challenges that they will have. The question is going to be, how are they going to handle these things? I know that there's been a lot in regard to Susan Rice and her comments with Benghazi, but she has she's known for being pretty direct. I think that's something that the president will use and will be very good for him to have in that role. And I think that those who he is talking to in regard to outside the White House as well as within his cabinet will also respect the decisions and the advice that he's getting from her.
You know, I'm wondering how important are these posts and the people who occupy them, because we know from experience that, especially in this administration, the Obama administration, that foreign policy is really centralized in the White House. It's not at the State Department or the NSA.
Well, I think we saw that with Benghazi too, you know, in regard to some of the I don't want to say miscommunication, I wasn't there, but the way that it came across as being miscommunicated. I think that this choice helps to kind of seal that up and to hopefully so that there's more of a cohesive message that's coming forward from the White House so that we don't see other incidents like we did with Benghazi.
You know, you mentioned Susan Rice. She was President Obama's first choice for Secretary of State. And there was vigorous opposition from the Republicans who said that they will not confirm her in the Senate if she was nominated by the president. The president has come back now and he's saying Susan Rice is going to be what is effectively the boss of the Secretary of State. She's going to be John Kerry's boss right now. Was she the best person for the job, or is the president here playing politics and saying, see what I can do? I can put Susan Rice in a position where she doesn't require Senate confirmation?
Well, you know, I would have liked to have seen her as Secretary of State. But now that she's in this position at the National Security Council, it's one where she doesn't have to go through the Senate confirmation. She doesn't have to go through the political parts of it, as well as you have, and you're hearing the Republicans are saying, listen, we will accept this and we have to work with her because this has to do with our national security. So I think that from the president's standpoint, it was a very good political move on his part.
Right. You know, the rumors were floating around this city that Susan Rice would get that job as National Security Advisor. What do you make of the appointment of Samantha Power as ambassador to the United Nations?
Well, they say that Susan Rice has been very direct. Well, it'll be interesting to see if they think that Samantha Power will be even more direct, because she seems to be wanting to see the United States take more responsibility for some of its past policies. Whether or not it's been coups or involvement with some of the changes in some regimes around the world. It's going to be interesting to see her in this position and see if she's able to, as an ambassador of the UN, to be able to do some of the things that she talked about in her book and has talked about publicly. I think she may find it a little bit different, but it's also going to be interesting to see how she gets through the confirmation process. I think the Senate is going to give her a hard time.